it's Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium, and boy do I have a project for you today. So we are using obviously some black cardstock, but the most amazing part of this project is I've finally broken the seal on all of these packages. We are using this beautiful paper collection from Graphic 45, which is Let It Be. And if you've not already seen this, it is such an amazing collection. I can't even get over it. So we've tucked into the 8x8, the 12x12, which is this one, as well as the pattern and solids that coordinate with it. And let me tell you, this project is going to blow some socks off. That I'm sure. Earlier in the year, possibly even last year, I did a project that was a never-ending mini album. And I decided to kind of take that to the next level, which is to add a little bit more, because the never ending wasn't enough. The infinity, which is what I'm calling this new one, the infinity mini album, it really does take it to the next level and gives you so much space for beautiful paper, for pictures, for journaling. It's just simply going to be amazing. So to get into it now, I'm going to go through some of the pieces that you are going to need to create the base. So to start off with, I've got everything kind of paper clipped together so that I'm sure to cover absolutely everything. So we are going to need 2 pieces cut 6x8, and these are going to be scored here at, I do believe it's 6 inches, but I want to make sure I'm giving you the right measurement. Yep. So this one is scored at 6 inches. Here we have our 6 pieces of 6x7, and this one is scored twice. So you're going to score these ones at 6 inches and at 7 inches. The next pile that we have, and this really is a pile. So these are all the pages that are going to kind of flip in and out. And these ones are 6 by 6.5, and you're going to score these at 6. You need 18 of these. I did tell you it was a project. Here we have pieces for our waterfall mechanisms, and you're going to need 12 pieces that are 6x4. This is another piece that is part of our waterfall mechanism, and this is 11.25 by 6, and we're going to be doing a bunch of scoring right around here to create the waterfall, mechanism. And then also for the waterfall mechanism, because you're going to have to slice this, I have cut also 2 pieces that are 12 inches by 1 inch, and you will need 2 of them, one for each of the waterfalls. So we're going to have 2 waterfalls in here. As well, you should have like just one more piece, because we do want these to wrap around, but they won't meet quite. So you'll need one extra piece. We're not even going to use this entire piece. We're just going to be cutting it to make sure that we have a good connection with these around the waterfall. Okay, so to start, I've done all the scoring ahead of time, but I'll just go run it through it really quickly with you. So I'm going to set this one aside because that one has a little bit more in-depth scoring. Okay, so with your 6x8, we've got 2 of these pieces. You're going to lay your 8 inches across the top, and you're going to score both of them at 6 inches. This is going to be what creates the outside cover. There's more to the outside cover as well, but the next ones we're going to be scoring are the 6 by 7.5. And with the 7.5 across the top, you're going to score each one at 6 inches and at 7 inches. And you're going to do that with all 6 pieces. And then the next one is our 6 by 6.5. So with the 6.5 across the top, we are scoring at 6 inches. And that's for every single one of them, 18 pieces. And then the last piece that we have here is for the waterfall mechanism. And so here we have 11.25 by 6. So 11.25 is at the top. And you're basically going to score at every 1/4 inch from 4 to 5.5. So just to be clear, we are scoring at 4 inches, at 4.25, 4.5, 4.75, 5, 5.25, and 5.5. And you're going to need to do that same scoring for both pieces. And then luckily, no more scoring because we don't score the 6 by 4. So that's it for the scoring for now. So we are going to start by building our waterfall mechanism because I've got it in front of me. It's good to get this done and then we can kind of set it aside. So with all of our scoring, all of our score marks, you don't want to burnish them necessarily. This is going to create, it's going to create kind of like a rolling mechanism that will create the waterfall. So it's just a different way of creating waterfalls. I've done quite a few different styles over the years to create the beautiful waterfall. And this one certainly is very easy. And so I figured I'd give it a try. In fact, I really do like it. So I'm just going over each score mark and just making sure that sometimes I need a ruler just to get, because we're every 1/4 inch, it kind of becomes a little bit more challenging to make sure that you get every single one and that you're not skipping any. So all I do is I move my ruler to where the score mark is and just kind of pull gently. You don't want to rip your paper, so just pull gently and you're good to go. Perfect. So basically, this is all we want. We just want our paper to kind of roll. And as we add stuff, add the pages to it, it's going to make way more sense, believe me. It may not right now. I just want to get this last one done a little bit more because it's really not. There we go. So as you kind of move it, you can kind of see all of those kind of going nicely. It looks like a nice rounded bookend. Okay, so we're going to repeat the same thing with our second piece. So now that we have all of our score marks have been not burnished, but, you know, massaged, I guess, a bit, then we can take our 6 by 4 pieces and we're going to be gluing them on. So with your 4-inch piece at the bottom, we are going to grab our liquid glue. You can, of course, use double-sided tape if you so wish. And what we're going to do is, it's kind of hard to see, I'm assuming because of the black paper, but we're going to go, this is our first score mark here and our second score mark here. So we're going to just put a bead of glue, and this always seems to happen. You know, as soon as you take the pin out, for some reason, that's when it doesn't want to come out. So I am just going to give it another poke and see if we can get that going. Perfect. There we go. So I'm just staying right between those lines, not adding excessive amounts of glue because you don't need them. And then when you're laying this on, you are wanting to stay just below like the score mark. So you don't want to cover that up because that's an integral part of the mechanism. But as you're laying your piece down, you are going to make sure that everything is all nicely aligned. And the beautiful part about using the liquid glue is you can kind of move it around a little bit so you're not stuck. Sorry for the pun. And you're going to keep repeating that. So between the second and third score line, now I'm putting another bead of glue, and I'm going to be applying this layer right in between those and repeating the very same process. So making sure that everything is aligned. We are going to press that down and continue on. So that is how this kind of comes together. And like I said, not a whole lot. It's not overly finicky. Some waterfalls can be, I was finding, to be very kind of challenging. But this one seems to come together pretty quickly. Okay. Whoops. Just making sure that A, I don't get my head in the camera, but B, we're all nicely aligned all over. Kind of a nice, you'll be amazed at this project. I couldn't imagine the amount of space that there is for this is just wild. Okay, there we go. Got a couple more and then we'll be done with the waterfall. Alrighty, sorry, having trouble picking up my sheet of paper. And for this particular project, I'm just using 65-pound cardstock. So although it is a mini album, we're not using any chipboard. We are just using some, great 65-pound cardstock, and that's exactly what I used for the Never Ending album. And although I may have been a little bit, unsure of whether or not it was going to stay and hold, it has lasted, months of being opened and closed, and it is totally fine. Okay. So there we have our waterfall. Just making sure that that is well adhered, because we are going to fold. So at the very top is where our last page has been adhered to. So it's our last score line. Just pulling this down a little bit. Okay, so we've got our top fold, which I'm going to now grab my bone folder, because this part we definitely want to have this burnished well. Bear with me just one second. There we go. Okay, so grab your bone folder. We're going to burnish that. And this is what you have. Beautiful waterfall. A little bit of fluff. So that is the beginning. So once you're done this part, we are going to open this back up again. Okay. So all of your waterfall pieces are on this side. And here's where we are going to install our strip. This strip mechanism is what's going to hold it to the inside of the album. Okay, so we are going to apply glue at the bottom. Now I'm eyeballing it, but definitely don't want to exceed the 1 inch. So if you wanted to and were unsure, you could definitely take out your ruler, measure 1 inch on either side. So I'm definitely well within that 1 inch. at either side and draw a quick line, because nobody is going to see this part of it. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more glue because, like I said, this has got to be held together quite nicely. And you're going to want to line it up with the very bottom. It doesn't have to be completely centered because, like I said, nobody's going to see this, so it doesn't have to be completely centered, but you do want to make sure you, again, have really good contact. So if you're not wanting to use the liquid glue, you don't have to. You can certainly use double-sided tape. That would work equally as well. So now that we have this glued, so again, I'm just going to flip it over to let you see. It's glued basically to this bottom piece. We're going to fold the top back down, and we're going to fold these pieces inward. So they're going to be laying on top of like our back. So all of our score lines are right here. Fold this down, and these pieces fold over. You don't want it super, super tight. You just need it to be, you know, just hanging on. And the reason for that is, and I will show you in just a second, once I have this kind of all glued down and all in position, is this back part, this last piece right here, is the mechanism. So if it won't pull down, then your waterfall won't work. It won't become a waterfall. It'll just be a stationary. And here's where our second piece comes in. If you can see here, let me put something, you know, not black. So if you can see there, there's maybe about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, something along those lines, where it doesn't come to meet. So we're just going to take a little bit of our spare piece. Just going to grab my scissors, cut a little bit because we don't need a lot. And then we're just going to add a bit of glue to either side, making sure that we stay a good amount away from the edge, because again, we don't want the glue to kind of ooze out and hit this bottom page, because then again, it won't be a waterfall. It'll be a stationary. So perfect. Okay. So we've got all that there. The one thing I do want to do now that I've given the front a bit of time to kind of dry, which is again, something that is a must. Now we're going to go back and we're going to burnish our folds now that we have our, you know, the pieces attached to it. So as you go to open them, you're going to hold down the bottom and you're going to be very gentle with how this opens. Okay, so you want your bottom piece, this piece is going to lay flat. This piece is not bending, this piece is. So we're just going to go through and make sure that all of our pieces are burnished and that we're not pulling anything apart. So this is what you're burnishing now is not these pieces. These pieces remain 4x6. You're burnishing the mechanism that we were making before. Perfect. It's all coming together quite nicely. Okay. And then our last piece. So as you can see, I'm going quite slowly because it's not something that you want to rush through. You want to make sure that you're taking your time and that all of the pieces are, you know, well adhered, that you're not, you know, going to tear anything, because I'd hate for everybody to go through all of the time and effort to make this and then to have it tear right at the last minute. So this bottom piece right here is where you're going to have your pull tab. And when we go into the design part and the decorating part of this tutorial, then you'll see we'll have a little pull here that will make it a little bit obvious that we're actually, it's a waterfall and it's something to be pulled. So our our band here is going to hold this down, and as you pull your waterfall, that's how your waterfall mechanism works. So this is a absolutely lovely feature to have in your album, and I'm so happy that I decided to include that. So you're going to follow the exact same instructions for this second piece. So I'm going to hop to it and make sure that I get the second piece done, and I will catch up with you as soon as I'm done it. Perfect. So we now have our 2 waterfall mechanisms done, and we're already well on our way. So the next 2 pieces that you're going to grab are going to be the 6x8 that we scored at 6 inches, and we're going to just give our score lines, get those burnished. And for this one, this connection, I am going to use a bit of score tape, so double-sided tape, along with my glue, my liquid glue. So I've got some score tape here. I'm just going to run that right in between. We're going to be layering the two 2 inches. We're going to be layering those one on top of the other. That's going to create somewhat of a, it's, I guess, a spine, a gusset, kind of a bit of both, really. And you'll see it when it comes together. Oops. Make sure you stay within those 2 sides. You don't want it to go all crazy. Okay, so I'm going to just attach the score tape to one side, peel off the backing, and then I'm going to apply some glue. So the score tape will give you the really sturdy, I mean, the glue will too. I made my template, my test run of this idea that I had. I did it all with just liquid glue, and believe me, it's been open and closed more times than my front door. So it has been put through the ringer, and none of the glue has let me down. So there we go. We're just wanting to, again, stay within the 2 score marks. Get rid of any excess glue that has come out. And I've gone a little bit, that's weird. One side is just a little bit, so I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim that off now. So that, there we go. Perfect. So this is going to be kind of the outside back, like I said, spine, gusset. You'll be the decider of what we're going to call it. So this is the outside. The next ones that we're going to be attaching are going to be our 6 pieces that are 6 by 7.5. These ones have been scored twice. Remember, at 6 and at 7. So the first thing we're going to do for all of these is, again, make sure that these are all burnished on both score lines. And as we go through, just set those off to the side. We make sure that we've got a nice, we're matching on both sides. Everything is nice and even, because here is the time if you needed to correct something because perhaps it's a little bit off, or, for some reason the trimmer went kind of a little wonky, then here is definitely the best place to correct it if you needed to trim some off. Making short work of this. All right, couple more to do. There's a lot of repeat kind of work in this Infinity album, mini album, but it's like I said, it packs quite a punch in the sense that there is a lot of real estate for you know, if it's being used as a photo album or, you know, a photo / journaling or any number of different things. The great part of, you know, what I thought the original inspiration for this idea was that it would make a perfect album, perhaps for like grandparents, because there were 12 pages that you could actually fill. So great for grandkids and their school pictures, first year of, you know, baby. So the baby's first year would be fantastic. So now with our 6 additional pages, for lack of a better word, we're going to be installing these in a couple of different places. So we are going to first start, bear with me just one second. Yeah. So we're going to have them at the top like so. Sorry, I just had to think and make sure that I was providing the accurate information. We're going to do ones at the bottom as well, and then we're going to go 2 to the side. So this folds out and it's very spacious. So it may look like a tent from the inside, but it's a mansion on the inside, believe me. Okay, so we're going to take our 1/2-inch pieces, and that's basically what's going to be glued to this main page. So we're just going to take, if you wanted to take some score tape, double-sided tape, put that along here with your glue. If that makes most sense to you, and if you feel more comfortable that way, then that's totally fine. I'm going to put these on facing me, and then I'm just going to spin this around as we go. So this way I have a better vantage point. So you are wanting definitely to stay within and not cover up this score line, this fold line that we have here, and you're wanting to make sure that this is aligned on the outside. So we definitely have space to fold this over. You don't want that to impede that. And I'm going to make sure, just with my bone folder, that we have good connection. And we do. Love it. So now we're going to go over to the next side and we're going to repeat. So on my 1/2-inch, I'm just going to apply, you know, a generous but not excessive amount of glue. And we are going to do the same thing. So again, getting it right flush with the left-hand side this time, and making sure that our right-hand side is staying within the score marks. Sorry, I just realized that this side needs to come down a little bit. There we go. Okay, perfect. Excellent. So we've got our, again, our fold. It's not impeding anything. We have it nicely adhered. Make sure I've got no glue seeping out. And then we're going to spin this around this way to attach one to the end here. Quickly running out of space on my desk. Once it's all folded out, it is pretty impressive. Like I've said, I think a few times. So then we're going to add this to this side. So I'm paying attention to the right side, which is now our top. Oh my goodness, this is not, there we go. Okay, so I've got that all lined up, not overstepping the fold line or the score line that we have at the bottom. It all is lining up quite well. Okay, so we spin that around one more time and we add our next sheet, and we're going to keep doing that all the way around the basically the main two parts that we have here. Okay, so here is what we've created. We've made the beginning of the Infinity album. So the next thing that we are going to tackle is you're going to grab these 18 pieces that are 6 by 6.5 and scored at 6 inches. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to create 6 packages of 3 pages. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to remove this because it is going to be in our way. Okay, so I'm just going to fold that up and put that there. So grab 3 of your pages and we are going to first, I'm not sure what that is. We're going to first burnish, fold and burnish these, the score lines that you've created. Making sure that we're getting them as straight as possible. And then we're basically going to stack these, creating a bit of a booklet of sorts. So what I'm going to do first here is, this is my 1/2 inch. So I'm going to grab my glue, grab your score tape and glue if you wish, and get some glue on there, just like we did with our previous page, I guess, installation. And you're just going to lay this right on top. So you're wanting to get everything nicely aligned, as well as the edges. So your 2 score lines or your fold marks are meeting. I'm just going to open that up really quickly. Press that out. Got a little bit of overhang on one side. I'm just going to trim that off really quickly. Oops, there we go. And then we are going to repeat that exact same with this piece. So we're going to add glue and then add it right on top. So you want all 3 of your fold lines to be on the same side. So you're going to have all of your folded edges right here along the same part. Okay, so I'm going to add some more glue and then we'll get that on top, and you're going to repeat the same thing. So in counts of 3, you're going to put them together just like this pack, making sure that we are aligned on one side, getting the score lines aligned. Perfect. And if there's any glue that comes out, just run, well, I run my all-purpose tool, my finger, along the line. And it's okay that it goes, you know, I kind of add a little bit more, I guess, of reinforcement there. So that works for me. But I just make sure that the inside is nice and clean. So now I have a little set of 3. So we're going to keep doing that, pulling 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. And you're going to repeat the exact same step. Okay. So that is 6 little packages of 3 pages each. Nicely done. That seemed like it was a marathon of burnishing and gluing. And so we're going to bring back in our base. And how I folded this, and I just realized that I didn't even show that the bottom folds up, the top folds down, the sides fold in, and it closes just like that. Now, we don't have any pages, so it may seem a little wonky, but this is basically the outside shell, if you will, for our beautiful infinity mini album. So we're going to fold this back out. And where we're going to place these is we are going to be putting them, so with my 1/2 inch tab, that's going to apply to the outside edge of the top piece. Both of them are going to be like this. Hopefully you can see that. Give me 1 second. Let me just stand up. Okay, let me bring this back down into frame. I apologize. Okay, so there are our 2 top pages. So our 1/2 inch tab is going to be placed right here along the edge. So that folds outwards. And the same thing is going to happen on this side. We're going to do the same thing so that these 2 booklets fall outwards. We're going to do the same thing on the middle section. Let me pull that up. On the middle section, we are again putting it basically right on top. We don't want to hide this gusset right here. We're wanting to put this right on top of where we attached it. And so this is going to fold out like that. Obviously, we're going to mirror the same thing on this side. And then the last 2 pages, you guessed it, those are going to be going right along the side edges for the bottom. So you can already tell that this project is giving you a lot of space for putting pictures and all kinds of other fantastic things. I don't know why I just spun it around, but I did. So we're going to work from the top, which is now the bottom, and work our way around. So I'm going to first put some glue on my hinge here. Okay, my little tab. And this is going to be applied to the outside. So I'm going to line it up. Again, I don't want to cover any of the score lines because you want to make sure that this is all nicely aligned. I think I have it just a little bit off. Sorry, I'm going to twist this around a little bit better so that I have a better vantage point for applying my booklet. So I'm going to apply a little bit more glue because this has... We do want to take our time and make sure that we are being as precise as possible now so that we don't run into any issues later. Okay. So there we go. Okay, now I see it. Perfect. Excellent. Make sure that I don't have any glue seepage. So we've got our first booklet down. Next one is our middle one. So this is the one that folds in as our, cover, I guess. So we're going to grab another booklet of 3. We're going to add some glue to the tab. And I'm putting it on the inside of the score line. So I can fold this in without any problem. It doesn't need to fold flat. It just needs to stay like at a 90-degree angle. And there we go. That works perfectly there. So that flips outwards. And then we're going to move this down one more so that we can do this one. So grab another, whoops, that one's attached. Grab another pack of your 3 pages, add glue, and then place it right. Again, for this one, we are putting it just to the bottom of the, oh my goodness, the score mark. So again, we can fold it in this way. Nothing is being impeded or getting in the way. We're going to fold the bottom, top. Oops, that's actually not how you do it, because now we have these side ones. The side ones have to come in first, and then, whoops. There, the side ones need to come in. There we go. That folds in. You have to make sure you get all the pages, otherwise you may not be able to fold it up properly. So this should come with instructions, and you may have to show the person that you give this to, you know, how to open it. And but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm pretty sure once they tuck into it, they will be simply amazed and will cherish it for, I'm sure, a very, very long time. Okay, so making sure that I'm level with the bottom. I'm not covering my score line. Sorry, the words sometimes. There we go. Perfect. Then we're going to do our middle one, and we are almost done. How amazing is this? Okay, so this one again doesn't go on this gusset, it goes on the inside portion. So we are making sure again that we are on the inside of all the score lines so that I'm not covering anything up. Everything can fold. I'm kind of, sorry, I gotta redo that one because that was kind of getting to the point where it may have covered it. So I definitely don't want to cover the fold lines because, or the score lines. So I'm going to just re-add some more glue to this pack. There we go. And let's try this again. Okay, so just making sure that we're on the inside of that, the inside of that one, making sure everything folds in nicely, which it does. And we are almost done. One more to go. Okay. And we are not going to be installing our waterfalls quite yet. Those are going to be hanging out for just a moment because we need to put some designer paper down first. Okay, so just to review. So now we've got all of our pages in, and this is our Infinity album. Okay, so waterfalls, not to be, you know, left to the side or anything like that. I'm just going to show you really quickly. I'm going to zoom out in just a second. And you can see kind of the full effect of this particular album. Whoops. Okay, so I think I'll be able to get it all on camera, I think. So you open it once, and then you have these pages that flip out. We're going to, I've done them a little bit backwards. There we go. So the top is going to flip upwards, and then we have these pages that flip out. Okay, so far, lots of space, right? We got lots of space over here. And then if I move this upwards a little bit, then you also have this section. Let me close that, it's getting in the way. The section that folds down, and then you have another section of pages. So a lot. And the waterfalls are going to be placed right in here as kind of like a focal point and a nice decorative as well as interactive feature. So this is where we're at right now, and we are going to begin the design phase next. Oh, I keep forgetting pages. Give me one. So, okay, to go over how this folds back up again, is we've got our 3 sections here on either side, left and right. Those fold in first. Those have to be the ones that fold in first. Then it doesn't really matter, but I tend to go fold the bottom ones up, the top ones down, side ones in, and you are done. So that is the Infinity album in a nutshell. So stay tuned, and we will be doing the design phase next. Okay, so now that we have our beautiful base all figured out and done, as well as our 2 waterfalls that we will be putting in here, we now have to get all of our pieces ready for the decorating part. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've cut these, but I did want to mention that we do have a couple of more pieces of our base color, so in this case black, to cut out really quickly. So we are going to be putting in some pockets in on some of the pages, and so the pocket bases that you're going to need, they're not always going to go like this. I think I have some that are going off to the side. So, but regardless, you're going to need 6 pieces that are cut 7 inches by 3.5. And we'll be scoring these. It's 1/2 inch on either side of the length, and then 1/2 inch at the bottom. So if you have your 7 inches at the top, you're going to do 1/2 inch and 6.5 inches. And then you're going to turn it around and you're going to score it at 3 inches. And that's going to give you the sides. So that way your pocket is the entire length. And if you were to glue it down and just cut out a piece that was like the inside, which would be 6 by 3, and you use glue to kind of glue it down, which you can still do, but you're just going to have to remember that the inside part of the pocket is not going to be a true 6 inches by 3 inches. You're going to lose some space because of the glue or double-sided tape, whichever you choose. So I prefer to do my pockets like that because this way I have the full width and depth in terms of pocket size. I also decided that I was going to notch out these pockets. I had seen somebody else do it, and for the life of me cannot remember who, but I thought that that was such a smart idea to notch out the pockets, and it just adds a little bit more interest. Again, I have done pockets many, many times just like this, and it is totally fine. Just to do the notching, I grabbed my envelope punch board. And so for my envelope punch board, if I just remove these little sticky notes, so for this one, because we're 7 inches across the top, we're going to line this up at 3.5, which is going to give us the center point. And this button here will actually punch out the little notch for us. Just like that. Pretty simple. And we're going to obviously do the same thing when it comes to the design paper, and that way we have it mirroring the same shape. So that is for the pocket bases. So again, 6 pieces, 7 by 3.5, and the scoring at a 1/2 inch, 6.5, turn it around, and then score it at 3. Then we also are going to need some belly bands. And the reason I included belly bands is I'm including some of the pattern in solids, and just to add a little bit more interest. Plus we have these super cute cut aparts on one of the pages, and I really wanted to add them in somewhere. And I think the belly band is a perfect idea. So in order to do the belly bands, I chose a couple of the designs, and as you can see here, the little sunflower is just a little bit narrower. So I'm doing 2 of the belly bands, and these are cut at 6.5 by 1 3/8. I scored it a 1/4 inch on either side, and I needed 2 of these to go with the 2 sunflowers. The rest of them are cut at 6.5 inches by 1.5, and that will give us a nice little border around. And also these are scored at a 1/4 inch on either side as well. So these parts, the pockets and the belly bands, well, the belly bands especially, need to be installed after the designer paper. So that's why they're coming to light now. So I'm going to set that aside. We're going to start working. We are also going to be needing some magnets, because to keep this closed, we'll be installing 3 magnets on either side. And I feel like that way we will have enough support and strength from the magnets to keep the album closed. Sorry, I've got the hiccups. I'm going to put myself a note. I just do a little circle roughly around where I'm wanting to put my magnets, and I put an M. I'm just using a pencil, but regardless, it's going to be covered with the designer paper. And if I don't do it, there have been many an occasion where I have forgotten my magnets and have had to come up with a different plan, or a plan to hide the magnets afterwards, because the magnets, although they're not huge, these are the little magnets that I'm using. So they're quite thin. I've got 2 here. So they're quite thin and on the smaller side. However, you know, you want to try and hide them as much as possible, or at least that's my preference anyways. So, okay, so I've done my magnets. As I was going through the pattern paper and cutting it, I had decided to give myself a bit of a roadmap, so to speak. So because this is such a large album in the sense that there's a lot of space to cover, you are going to need 46 pieces of 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And that includes the cover. So I've cut my cover page, and I'm going to set that aside. We're going to do the cover at the very end, but I've basically pieced them together, and I've got them all paper clipped. So my A pieces, because I've got A here and I've written down A on both of these, my A pieces are going to be right here. And I've done that every single page, just because there are so many pages in this particular album. I definitely wanted to make sure that I had a clear plan. So quite often, if you're making something like that, I would strongly recommend putting together, or just even making a little quick note, whether it's with little post-it notes or with a pencil that you're going to cover it anyways. Just make yourself a little note of what goes where, and you'll be set. So we're going to start with, I'm going to leave A's open right now because the magnet installation. So I'm going to flip this over, And so now I've got B. So I'm just going to flip over to B. So all of these, again, are all the same size. They're 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And all of the information, so the sizes, the number of pieces, I'll even tell you what pages I've used, because each of the designer pages has an awfully nice name to go along with them. So I will let you know which pages from the collection I've used for which pieces. So these ones are designed to go right here. And a lot of, in the entire album, because it is basically a mirror of itself, I'm going to have basically the same on either side. It'll be a mirror copy. So as we go through, you will definitely notice that. I'm just going to move some of this off to the side because we will run out of space very, very quickly. Okay, so I've got my pieces up there, over to the side, and we will get out our glue. So again, for this, if you so desire, you can definitely use some of your double-sided tape. I find that in this instance, the double-sided tape would take quite a while to apply to the back, and it can get pretty costly, I think, at that point. So I'm just going to use, again, I don't know how this happens. Almost every single time I take the pin out, and sure enough, there's no glue. So I'm going to, there we go. I knew it was coming. Oh, I think we hit a dry spell. Oh my goodness. Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me get this unplugged. I had accidentally yesterday left it without its pin for quite some time, so I feel like I might have some dried bits on the inside, unfortunately, but the pin will get it unstuck for sure. So we're going around the edges as close to the edge as we possibly can. I just do a little scratch down the middle as well. And then we are going to put this in place. Now, a lot of the pages in here are somewhat directional, but you've got the bees kind of flying all over. So, and we're going to get this as centered as we possibly can. I should have taken that out because this will flip down, and so I can press down. The other thing that I have done, and I obviously have done it off camera to save on some time, is I've inked all of my edges. This is something that I often do, especially with paper that has a lot of vibrant color. Otherwise you end up with a bit of a white edge on the sides where you've cut, which is quite common. It's not a bad thing. It just is, you know, how the paper is produced. And so to kind of cover up those edges, if you use some of your ink, your stamping ink, you can go around with a sponge or a brush, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Fold that down. Oops, I should have done this beforehand. And so this way I can get it pressed down without fear of crushing what is underneath. There we go. And sorry, getting back to the inking, this is the tool that I use. So this top part is a sponge, and obviously this is well used and well loved. It's my vintage photo. It's my vintage photo distress oxide ink pad, and it's my go-to, so it is always at the ready. But if you wanted to switch this out, you could definitely pull this back. Whoops. Pull that back, and it's just held together with a little bit of Velcro, and you can switch it out. And I just got some brown ink on my fingers. Bear with me just 1 second, just because I don't want to get it all over the place. The craft room favorite is a package of baby wipes so that you can easily wipe off your mat, wipe off your hands. Sometimes crafting is a messy ordeal, and you know, especially I find for me. So I'm just gonna wipe that off so I don't get it everywhere. And it's dark. I know you probably wouldn't see it on the rest of this, but I just don't want any, you know, unforeseen accidents. Okay, so now we've got our B's, no pun intended. Our B pages are down, and we can flip this over, because if we flip that out, then I've got all the other pages marked, and I'll be able to kind of do search and find type things to be able to lay them down. Okay, so our next package is going to be E, which is this beautiful paper with bees and little words with more flowers. So that's going to go on this side and on this side. So our outer sides. I can take off E now. And again, we're going to keep doing the same thing, but I just wanted you to see how it is that I'm putting this together. And then as soon as I'm done with this, we'll flip through it and I will show you all the papers that were used. Bear with me just 1 second. Okay, so we apply this the very same way as we did our our B paper, our B panels, I should say. It's all B paper. So, and it's so beautiful. Like, the pages are just so beautifully designed. I can't even get over it. So I don't know. I think I expanded this as much as I possibly could. I just want to make sure that I move over so you can see, and then I'm not off camera somewhere in the wild blue yonder doing my thing without anybody seeing. So, all right, and E will go right here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is kind of how it's going to come together. And yeah, so I will fast forward and get the rest of this side done, and I will be back with you in just a moment to give you a quick peek of what I've done. Okay, so we're at the point now where we're going to be adding in some pockets. So I have gotten everything cleared away so I can show you how I put together my pockets. And for this, we're going to need 2 of our pocket bases. And so these again, excuse me, these again are 7 by 3.5, and we've done a 1/2 inch score mark on both of the long sides and on the bottom. We've notched out as a decorative feature using our envelope punch board. And to mirror that, we have also gone ahead and notched out our bottom pieces. So these pieces for the decorative element on top, the pockets, these ones are 5 3/4 by 2 3/4. And again, I've notched it out. So with the smaller pieces, your notch is going to be at 2 7/8. And that is half of 5 3/4. So we've got 2 of those pieces that are going to lay nicely on top. And then we are going to be doing, these are actually going to be side pockets. So they'll be installed like this. And then we have 2 pieces of other designer paper that we're going to be sliding in just a little bit. And these pieces, we're going to have 2 of these as well. And for these pieces, we've got 3 1/4 by 5 3/4. And that's how that's going to go. If these ones had been directional, then you're going to want to make sure that you're, cutting it out correctly. So how they had them laid out before, I apologize, was not exactly correct because I forgot I'm doing side pockets on the top and possibly on the bottom, I think, as well. So this is how I'm going to go ahead and put these together. Okay, so for the bottom pieces, or the pocket, I should say, the actual pocket pieces, I'm going to grab my bone folder. We're just going to go around the 3 sides that we have scored and get those burnished. You really want your pocket to lay flat, so burnishing here is a really important step. The next thing we're going to do, because if we were to fold it right now, we would have a lot of bulk in the corner. So you're going to just grab your scissors and we're going to cut across. So how I like doing this is I'm going to cut to the point and then I go off in another direction. And so it's not quite straight across, although you can do that too. And I've done that many times. It works equally nice. Just to right where they all intersect and then off that way. So all we're making sure is that we've got all that bulk kind of taken out of the corner and that you have a nice point at the tip without any excess. So if you don't quite get it the first time, I think everything is looking good here. Oh, there's a little bit. So because there's a little bit, as you can see right here, I'm just going to come back with my scissors and just trim that off really carefully because you don't want a hole in your pocket necessarily. And then that clears all that up. So for the pockets, I am going to use some double-sided tape because I feel like that's kind of what I normally use. And I'm not going to divert from that now. So we're going to put some double-sided tape across the bottom all the way to the side. Okay, get that cut at an angle, and I'm going to do this side first since the angle's already cut for me. And then we are going to come across here. Okay, so we've got all of our sides now done. I'm going to go over that with my bone folder just to make sure we've got really good, it's really stuck down. It's not going anywhere. There we go. And we're going to peel. I like peeling the bottom part off completely. And that way you can kind of stick down your side pieces. Oops, I don't know what I had there. Side pieces a little bit. And this way, everything will lay flat as possible. Okay, so we've got that done. Probably shouldn't have peeled that off quite yet because I don't even have my album out and ready to adhere it to. And I can apply this and this in just a second. So I'm going to bring in my album now. Set that off to the side. Was a little bit overzealous there. And then my pocket page is K. So now I'm going to have to figure out, I want the designer paper on the left-hand side on this side, and it'll be on the right-hand side on the opposite side. And then this is going to feed right into the pocket. And this way it hides this little tab here on either side. So as we put the pocket in, then the next step will be to put in our designer paper, and that will fall in just like that. So it looks like you're using a full piece, but you're actually saving yourself almost half of it you know, you can use for another project, or can possibly be used in this project as well. So before I lay this down, I'm just going to peel back my two sides so that they're ready to be adhered without having to kind of fuss around with it too much. Just going to stand up so I get myself a good vantage point for the installation. Again, you want it right. I'm going to get that as close to the edge as I possibly can, because I feel like then I just want to make sure I've got everything properly aligned. Yeah. So that works out really nicely. Okay. So here we go. Okay. Bottom part is not going to interrupt or impede the fold. So we have it on the top side of the, we haven't crossed over, and we're not on top of the, whatchamacallit, the score line. I think I said that so many times yesterday that my brain is just like score line, score line, score line. All right. Give me one quick second. Whoops. That just wasn't falling to where I wanted it at the top part. So there we go. Oh, that's much better. So you're just trying to line up all the sides again, so that you're not crossing over. And then with these little tabs, so this part is already adhered and stuck. So with this tab now, I can just pull and stick down. And I will do the same thing at the bottom, pull, and it sticks down, and it hasn't moved at all. So that's super, super handy. Again, not really sure where I saw that trick, but I use it regularly. And then our decorative paper is going to go on the inside. And I'm just looking for this notch. You obviously don't want to have your decorative paper coming out too far that you have like a gap, although you're going to be using that as, you know, a place to kind of store your cut aparts, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to grab my glue and get some glue on the back here. And we're going to feed that in. Alrighty. As I quietly slide it in, trying not to get glue all over the place. All right. Perfect. Excellent. So that page is in. And then I'm just going to grab my decorative piece for on top of the bottom. Well, I guess the side, the pocket piece. And this is just going to lay down, trying to keep as much, you know, uniformity around the outside as possible for our decorative piece. And there you have it, our first pocket page. And then since I've got the album open, I will flip to the other side and have it mirrored on the other side. And for the opposite side, I am going to do the same thing. So the pocket part is going to be on the inside, and then the decorative paper is going to be to the right. And then for our belly band, I have chosen to go with the beautiful sunflower. And just because the top part is, if you haven't noticed while I was flipping through, is basically all of the green papers from the patterns and solids. And so our belly band, we have two little score lines. So two little tabs we've created on either side. And I'm just going to apply a bit of glue. Whoops. You can apply certainly some double-sided tape here as well. So a little bit of glue, and I'm going to start off at the top. And again, this is going to be 6 inches in length. So from top to bottom, and we're going to do our best. I'm just eyeballing it here, but get that as much in the middle as we possibly can. Get that glued down. And then we're going to put our sunflowers on top. So for this belly band with the sunflowers, it is the narrower of the 2 belly bands. And so the belly band, again, this one measures, it measures 1 3/8 by 6.5, and we've scored a 1/4 inch at the top and bottom. And this way the belly band will create another bit of a pocket for, could be for pictures, it could be for some cut aparts. So this way it slides, you can have something slide in this way and it'll kind of be a decorative element as well. So perfect. So this is how this part looks now. So you would fold it up. So we've got our beautiful bee paper. You fold it upwards and then we fold out. We've got some beautiful paper. Now these are all the greens. We've got our lovely belly band and more paper. Lovely, lovely, lovely paper. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead, complete the same steps for the right side, and then I will be back and we will be doing our next stage. Okay, so now it's waterfall time. So I've already put together this one, and as you can see, I've left this side blank. This way, if you certainly wanted to add either solids to this side, you can absolutely do that. I just feel like I'm going to leave that blank maybe for some additional pictures or possibly some journaling. And then at the very end of our waterfall, as we slowly go through the pages, I added the bee paper at the very bottom. So this bee paper is 3.5 by 5 3/4. And that was one thing that as I started putting it together, I realized that I had forgotten. So I have added that there. So one thing I wanted to mention is as I was putting together the waterfall, obviously when you're doing black or any kind of color really, it can be very difficult to see where the page ends or where you want to leave kind of that nice frame as even as possible, excuse me. So what I do is I slip in a sheet of completely opposite paper. So in this case, really light. So that way I can see where it is that I'm trying to put my pages on. So makes it a lot easier to get your spacing, you know, as even as possible. If you have another type of or another color of paper underneath. So I've used 2 of the cut aparts for our front page, and then the rest have been papers from within the collection. The cut aparts are 2, don't get me wrong, but I chose to use the cut aparts instead of cutting more of the same paper. So, and the cut aparts are excellent for those kind of ideas. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish off the rest of this particular waterfall, and then we're going to get to installing them. And it's not overly complicated. It's super simple. Again, it's just a matter of getting your waterfall mechanism in the right spot so that it will work effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this part up, and then I will be back with you shortly. So by the time you get to this bottom page, it is pretty easy to see because you don't have the rest of the, you know, lines kind of messing with your eyes. So once that bottom page is down, that's perfect. Then we can go ahead and add our bee paper at the very bottom. And that's just going to slide in a little bit underneath the mechanism, but it will not interfere. So worry not. I'm just going to move that just because I'm right-handed. I just want to scoot this underneath and then get this aligned as much as possible. And we've cut a little bit of extra. So it really is underneath the mechanism. It's not going to accidentally come out and then be a little bit challenging to get back in. So it does slide in and out quite nicely. So now that we have our 2 waterfall pages, or mechanisms, I should say, now we can go ahead and get these installed. What we are going to want to do, though, is we are definitely going to want to bring out our double-sided adhesive, whether that's glue, whether that's score tape or another kind of tape, that is totally fine. I've already gone ahead and laid down the pieces that will be underneath. And while you're really not going to see them a lot, you are going to, this part does come up. So it isn't, this top part isn't adhered. It's only this bottom part that is going to be stuck down. So I did want to have something underneath just, you know, for the sake of, you know, having a really finished look. So with this one, I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to grab my double-sided tape. I had something wider than that. Here it is. Sometimes it hides on me. So I am going to lay down a few strips of double-sided tape. I was looking for my kind of cutter thing. Oh, I know I had something that was a little bit wider than this, but that's fine. This will work just fine. Okay, so I've got that down, and we are going to, I'm just trying to think of this. So I think I'm going to do like what we did before. I'm going to just start the 2 strips. Okay, this is not only in a video does it give me problems. So for mine, I am pulling, I just want to make sure I've got these, I'm pulling to the inside. I think that's how I had it done. Sorry, give me 1 second. I know I had it figured out because it was something that I had contemplated for a little bit, and I know I have got it here in my original. Nope, I'm pulling to the outside. I knew that didn't look right. Okay, so I had it right in the first place. So pulling to the outside. Okay, this one is going on this side. Yeah, and this one's going on that side. Okay, perfect. Whew, okay. Always double check, always dry fit. Those are my only 2 bits of advice for this segment is double check and dry fit. So the dry fit will give you an immediate tell whether or not it will fit or not. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure that I have got this in a position where all of my hinges, all of these score lines are going to fold. Well, that's not going to work. Are all going to fold properly and not be impeded by the mechanism that I'm putting in. So I just grabbed those the 2 ends and I'm just making sure that that's nice and glued down. And then for this part, Okay. 1 second. Why is that? Oh my goodness. Okay, 1 second. What have I done here? I think I put my tape. That's what I've done. I put one of the pieces of tape a little bit too close to the edge, and I've accidentally glued down my mechanism. Okay, so have no fear. I'm just going very slowly to remove Okay, so when we are putting down our score tape, definitely make sure that you are not crossing over. If it helps putting a lighter shade, again, please do so, but you don't want to cross over the band. This band that we have created when we were creating the waterfalls, right? This band right here. We definitely want to just apply the double-sided tape to that area. Now, I had meant to just pull off a little starter strip, but I have already, or so it seems, I have already just torn both of them off. That's fine. I'm just going to keep my fingers underneath that until I'm ready to put it down, until I'm happy with the position. And I believe that is good. Yep, so that closes, this closes. We're good to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna burnish that down, and when we pull, we are gonna put a little pull tab there, but as we pull, that is our waterfall mechanisms. So those are all installed, and like I said, it doesn't show much, but it does have a finished look if it does happen to come away from the page a little bit as it's going through. So, and you do tend to see it at that first little bit. Anyways, so just a personal preference. I mean, of course, you can leave it how you see fit. The last thing that I did want to show, which there's one page here, for the belly bands. Now, belly bands, the first way that I showed works completely well. They work very much the same way, but these two tabs, if you install the band first, I feel like I get a better, like a more secure band, if that makes any sense. So I put this in, right, I'm going to line up the bottom part and then kind of lay that as flat as possible till I come to the top and push that down, right? So that is as flat as possible. And then I grabbed my page and apply my glue, of course. And then I just kind of shimmy this underneath, grab it with my other hand, and well, I'll try not to get glue all over the place. So it is a little bit more finicky doing it this way. And I'm not really sold. This is kind of how I thought of it in my head, but you know, you can do it either way because I feel like the results are very similar. So it's just a matter of preference. Like I said, one is a little bit more finicky than the other. So entirely up to you how you would like to do them. And then apply our strip. So we are nearing very close to the end of our Infinity album. I'm just going to finish up this side really quickly with my belly band. And then we are going to put in our little gusset pieces as a designer feature there. And we are in the home stretch. The next parts are relatively easy. Well, every part of this album I feel like is relatively easy. Like there's nothing here that I feel like you couldn't do. So it's just a matter of being very methodical and, you know, going step by step, thinking about, you know, the placement of your papers and how you want to have those done. So, I mean, that's about it. I'm going to move that out of my way so it's not, you know, going to get glued on. There, that went a little bit more seamlessly there. But this beautiful paper, I mean, I can't say enough about how much I absolutely love this paper. And this creation, making this album, has been so much fun to you know, get to play with such beautiful paper. If I haven't already said it a million times. Okay, so I'm going to, nope, I always mistaken it. Zoom in, zoom out. There we go. Okay, so here is what we have so far. Let me just flip these in so that we can get everything closed. Okay, so this is the closed, you know, once we have our magnets that'll close in there, we have a front cover. Oh, I haven't put that one down yet either. So we'll have a front cover, which of course I'm using the beautiful Let It Be paper, kind of the you know, gem of it all. And so as you open this, I've got to install these 2 pages, but I got to put down the magnets first, which will be the next thing that we're going to do. Just wanted to show you really quickly. So this paper right here is the only paper that I cut with a very specific intention. And normally I like to try to maximize my paper, especially the designer paper. So if I can get away without having to make a specific cut and be left with some smaller pieces, then I do that as much as possible. Here I wanted to have this queen bee. I wanted to have this part, and it was a little bit more off to the side. So this was the only page that I cut with that specific intention, other than the cut aparts, which I feel like speak for themselves. So this one is going to go here, but this is how it opens. I may have to zoom out just a little bit more. There we go. Sorry, there's a little bit of stuff around. And these flip upwards. So we've got our beautiful bee paper here, and then you've got pages that flip out. So I've got my green level, which you saw a little bit of before. And then coming up to the middle section, if this folds down, I'm going to move that up a little bit so that you can get a full view. And then these flip outwards. So everything I designed for this particular album is all mirrored. So it does make it, again, a little bit easier in the sense that it's almost everything is you're cutting 2 of the same thing. So when you're cutting a strip of 12 by 12, I cut a strip that was 5 3/4, and then you cut that into 5 3/4. And so, you know, 5 3/4 by 12, sorry. Then you cut that, you know, so that you have 2 5 3/4 squares, and there's a little bit of, you know, a little strip that ends up, you know, going to my scrap pile, which will get used because I love this paper too much not to use it. Of course, you have your waterfall pages, which we can't do at the same time for obvious reasons. And then at the very bottom, we have our red section. Oops. For a second there, I thought I was, oh, wait. Yeah, they were a little bit glued together. Whoops. So we have this section, of course, our belly bands, and then our pocket pages. So the pockets on the center are off to the sides, and the pockets at the top and the bottom are in the middle. And so that is basically it. We are going to lay down our strips now. And for this one, I have used, had to think because I've got two strips. There's what we're doing on the inside, and then we're going to basically repeat the same thing on the outside. I just chose different paper. So for this one, I'm going to use this for the middle, and it kind of echoes the stripes to the side. And then we've got this cute little tone-on-tone honeycomb, which is one of my favorite papers in the collection. Well, I'd say that, but you know, they're all my favorite. Even the pattern paper, which is basically the tone-on-tone paper, as well as the solids, which again are not like 100% solid. They have a little bit of texture in them. So this one here, I believe, is from the Patterns and Solids, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have a quick look at that. Bear with me just one second as I lay this very quickly in order to double check. Let's see, I've got my... Yes. So just to kind of go over that. So this one is from the Pattern and Solids. This one is from the Pattern and Solids. This one is not. Nope, that one's not. This one is, because it's the same as the other one. And these are not. So these are from the 12 by 12. And this one is, as well as, I don't know that there's any other ones in this one. Oh, this one is as well. So these two, as well as this one. And then the rest are, you know, the fronts and backs of the 12 by 12 collection kit. So I'm going to finish putting these strips down. Sometimes it's really difficult to pick which side you want. Like the cut aparts, I'm always wanting to, whoopsie daisy. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I don't know what I've done here. Okay, so these are not, those are a little bit too long. Give me 1 second. Oh, because they're 6 inches. Okay then. Well, again, this is why we dry fit. So these ones need to be cut down by like a 1/2 inch. So let me do that really quickly and I will be right back. Okay, all right, so now all of the gussets are done for the inside, right? Yes, they're all done. Look really nice and finished and polished. Okay, almost got a little bit overzealous and forgot about the magnets. Okay, break out the magnets and our double-sided, whoops, I just kicked my guillotine, and our double-sided tape. So you are going to need, I'm keeping them in pairs for right now. So you're going to need, oh, well, that one just broke. Okay. You're going to need 3 sets, so 3 pairs of magnets. And we are going to do, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I get the pairs. There. And these magnets, while nice and thin, sometimes do have a tendency to break. So it's better when you are trying to separate them to slide them off as opposed to trying to dig your nail in and pick them off. And even then, sometimes they tend to break. So just be a little careful with that. So before I place my magnets down, I want to make sure that they're in enough that we are not going to have any issues with the paper kind of laying down. So I think I'm going to move these in just a bit, something like that. And that way it'll still hold. We won't have any issues with that, but you're not going to have also any problems putting the paper down on this side. So I'm going to just place my double-sided tape on this side. We're going to glue or tape those down. Do the same thing with the next ones. Ugh. They don't have to be super perfect in line either. I mean, that's just, whoops, a preference thing, I guess, but so long as they are in line with the opposite page, that is really what matters here. And that you're not going outside your designer paper that's going to go on top. You definitely want to make sure that you're giving yourself a nice wide berth when it comes to that. So now that we have them all adhered to this side, we are going to put pieces of the double-sided tape. I'm going to put them the opposite way this time. Okay. And we are going to basically fold it in half, and hopefully sometimes the magnets are a little bit stronger than the the double-sided tape, so they win out. But when you're putting down the double-sided tape on the top part, be sure that you're not applying it or adhering it to the bottom, because then for sure it won't separate. So we're just rubbing it onto the magnet. That's it. And if you want to be doubly sure that you're not going to get it onto this side, then you can just easily fold it in. You could have also cut your double-sided tape pieces a little bit smaller than I did. I was a little bit generous with that. So I'm just going to fold that in a little bit. And then my last one, doing the same thing, so we don't have it. Well, now I don't think I'm going to have a problem with the double-sided tape. So I'm just going to fold this, being mindful of where I have everything positioned, right? Because you definitely want to make sure that it closes, and it closes where you're wanting it to. So I'm going to close it just like that. Give it a little bit of pressure, and there you have it. So I've got my 3 magnets right in the spots that I want them to be. And now I can go ahead and lay my paper. So just to add a little bit of extra, because a little bit of extra never hurt, is I'm just going to run a line of score tape down here. Just want to make sure that that's not going to, do a little peekaboo on the outside. I'm going to then just make sure it's down, adhered nicely. I'm going to pull that off, and then we can go ahead and add our beautiful paper on top. So on the paper, I'm just going to add the glue, the same glue that we've been using all throughout. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue here as well, especially to the sides. Give it a little bit of extra reinforcement as far as the magnets are concerned. And then, like, just to, not necessarily that I feel like they're going to, you know, fly out, because they're not, but just to give, you know, something else for the paper to grab onto as well. And then we're just going to lift that page up and just, you know, massage. We have our magnets well into, so the paper has laid nicely across the magnets. We're not going to have, they don't really show up much because the beautiful designer paper is distracting from the lumps. Sometimes if you're using a little bit more of a solid, then you can definitely tell when there's a bump underneath. But you know, it's kind of one of those necessary things, I feel like. If you want a closure but don't want to use a ribbon or you know, any other types of closures that you may want. Okay, so now I'm just making sure that I've got everything going the right way. Oh, I need to add some glue to the paper though. Not just, it's not going to hold on a wish and a prayer. There we go. Or a wing and a prayer. I think that's the same. Okay. And the liquid glue on top of the double-sided tape gives us some time to if we needed to kind of move it in place, would give us that time. So we have our magnets in place, and this is really loaded. This is a mini album to end all mini albums. It really is. So if you wanted to as well, maybe for some added insurance, or, you know, you could also add as well, and now would kind of be the time to do it. You could add a ribbon to go around the outside. Whoops, my paper really didn't lay down as flat as I thought it had. Okay, there we go. There we go. So yeah, so now we're going to just finish this off by doing the outside parts, because we are done with the inside. So that would be the cover and all the gussets for the outside. So bear with me just one second. I think I'm going to flip this over and do it this way so that it is a little bit easier to get at. And so I've used the title page for my front cover. And with the title page, I've made, when I cut it, actually I think I may have cut this one in order to really get that Let It Be. That whole sunflower is all in the page. So I had thought possibly of, you know, fussy cutting that out and possibly using a different page. But I really do love the layout and the bees. I definitely wanted to have the bees there too. So that was my executive decision, I guess. But, you know, if you wanted to, you could certainly use whatever paper you are wanting to. Okay. And so now we have our little strips. I've got, of course, the bumblebees for the outside. And then we have a few of these. So I'm just remembering. Yes, okay. Just had to remember which was going where. So definitely the bumblebee paper is going in this middle. Okay. So this middle spine, I guess it's more of a gusset than it is a spine, but I'm going to put that there. And then on the top parts, we have this beautiful stripe. My husband calls it a psychedelic stripe. So, but used in small quantities, it looks very bumblebee-like. So we're putting that at the top. It's also going to be put on the bottom. And then our larger, thicker stripe is going to be at the ends. Okay, and then these ends are what I was talking about for this striped paper. So I'm going to just let that fall to the side so that we can adhere these to the ends. And I again cut these very specifically so that they would match and line up as much as possible. And so we have our little bumblebee paper there, as well as here. So that is what it's going to look like from the side. And then of course we've got our bottoms, which is this stripe again. So hopefully you have enjoyed this tutorial. There is way more that you can certainly do with regards to decoration. There is a plethora. Whoops. Okay. I think I'm seeing a lot of the paper. Just wasn't getting, no, that's not in place either. Okay, I'm gonna need to have to add more glue now. Okay, bear with me one second. But like I was saying, there are a lot of beautiful stickers in this collection as well. And the stickers could easily go for some of the pages that are a little bit more, plain, but then our cut aparts too. So bear with me just one second. So we have two absolutely stunning pages of stickers that we can go throughout, like all throughout the album, on the parts where we have our the bottom part or the side part to our pockets. Just got to find the words. So, something really simple like, oh, I like this, go through here and I'm going to use this sticker, the Be Yourself, put that on this one. I mean, again, there's the possibilities truly are endless when it comes to how you decide to decorate and use the stickers. It's just, you could be here forever. No, no pun intended there. But I'm just looking for another one. Oh, there's another Be Yourself. But I feel like that's on, this side too. So I think that, oh, I like this one. The Be Kind will fit nicely right up here. And then, of course, we cannot forget about our cut-aparts. Cut-aparts which will fit Might not fit in there because it's a little bit on the larger side. That could definitely fit in our belly band. But we've got these beautiful cut aparts that come again with the 12 by 12 collection kit. And so for this particular album, I've used the 12 by 12. Obviously, I've used the patterns and solids, which I showed, and I did tuck into the 8 by 8, but I didn't use a lot of the 8 by 8, just some small sections. This part for the sides, oh, you can't see that one. So this one is the 8 by 8. This one is from the 12 by 12. So you can see where the ratio is a little bit different. And then, of course, any of the small pieces that you have left over could easily go like on the waterfalls. Certainly on the back side of the waterfalls, you can use them as decorative elements there too. Just be mindful that if you are going to put them where potentially you're going to want to put pictures, or if you give it to somebody that they're going to want to put pictures, you're going to want to take away the sticky if you're using the stickers. If you're using the cut aparts, which is also an excellent idea, then you're just going to want to glue. Bear with me one second. I forgot to cut apart these cut aparts. But you're just going to want to glue. So if I were to, let's say, put this one here, you're just going to want to glue on the outside. So here I'm going to glue on this edge and on this edge. And this way it can tuck if somebody were to put a picture there. Now, of course, this is a little bit larger for that specific area, but you're going to want to keep that in mind when you're putting on your beautiful stickers and adorning this amazing Infinity album, Infinity mini album. You're definitely going to want to, leave some space and not glue, everything down, so that there are tuck areas for pictures and or journaling. So this is the final product. Hopefully you have enjoyed. Whoops, I have to tuck them all in. Hopefully you have enjoyed my tutorial today. I know I have had a fantastic time, and I look forward to spending some more time with you. So hopefully you have an amazing day and you stay safe and well. Thanks again. Bye.